Welcome back, folks, here to College COD for the 2023 season. Again, this is the penultimate week of league play, and we're getting to our second matchup here in the Midwest Division with the SIUE Esports, also known as the Cougars, against Michigan Esports, also known as the Wolverines, which today I learned it is a thing beyond just the Marvel character. I'm Infinity, joined on the desk by Proper, always shaking his head at me. I never know why he does it, but he just seems to make it a habit.
I just don't know how you would ever just seemingly expect that a Wolverine isn't a real animal and that it's just a Marvel character that all of Marvel Comics just created back in like the 1960s. But that's beyond me. Yeah, Wolverine's going up against Cougars in this matchup here for you all. The second time that we'll have the Michigan Esports roster on stream, and the first of the second time that we'll have the Cougars on stream. And I have a really keen eye, especially as far as how Midwest is actually shaking up. A lot of good teams in this division, and the Cougars stepping up to take out a Michigan team that just got done dealing with Ottawa.
Yeah, this Cougars team has been looking pretty hot this year. It shouldn't be a surprise, we'll say that much, because of course this was the very same Cougars that got fourth in the 2022 season, of course went flawless throughout the regular season in that year. But this year, I mean, they've been doing most of the same stuff. A little less flawless, we'll say that much. They've dropped 2 matches so far coming into this one, but D-Day, Slow-Mo, Plasmid, and Anchor. This roster is a pretty hot one for Michigan to face up.
Yeah, I mean, they only have 2 losses. They have the 0-3 loss versus Northwood because that team is just gross. And then they also have a 1-3 loss versus the Fighting Illini, Odan Ghostie's former college, funny enough. And they took it to a map 4 at the very least. They did win the Search and Destroy. It happened on Hotel, and they kind of blew all of Illini out of the water 6-1 there. So maybe an omen for how the series might play out for them.
Yeah, still going to be a challenge, I think, for the Cougars here against this Michigan Esports roster. If you guys have been hanging around even for, like the last half an hour or so, you already know most of this roster. But let's give you a little refresher if you didn't anyway. This is Blame, Assassin, Merc, and Memory. And boy, oh boy, they made a good impression of us in that last series. I mean, they've all had their moments, Sandy. Blame especially for me, though. I mean, you go back to that map number 1 in that last best of 5, he's shredded.
Yeah, Blame was everywhere that he needed to be. I was just winning gunfights that he had no business winning as well, was setting up Assassin just to live up to his name, and was just hitting these very nerdy timings to be able to flank the plays that Blame was just manifesting for his entire team. This Michigan roster just looks absolutely gross when they are feeling themselves, when they're just running across the entirety of the map. That was the key to success for them, only dropping the control versus the Ottawa Braves. That happened on El Asilo, but throughout every single map mode combination, when this team has map control, they will absolutely run at you and gun you down.
All right, well, where do the strengths lie within these 2 teams then? That's a big question we have to ask coming into this one. Again, these guys have been relatively successful in their series so far, starting off on the left side with the Cougars. The strengths are very clearly in the Search and Destroy. Hardpoint is hit or miss, and control not so good. I will say that much at 2 and 5. If you're a Michigan fan of the Wolverines, well, the story is exactly the same. The Search and Destroy is where your strengths will lie, but the control, as we learned in that last series versus the Ottawa Braves, isn't so hot.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how the map 3 is going to play out between these 2 teams. Search and Destroy should be a tight one. SIUE Cougars, especially with Slow-Mo on that team, are going to be looking to find and fish out a lot of different timings across that game mode. So I'm interested to see how each team do start handling each other, especially with such explosivity that we've seen in past games from these 2 squads.
Yeah, we'll see, man. I mean, it's very rare for us to get like a head-to-head situation like this. It doesn't happen that often, let's be clear. But we do have a map set to show you guys, and we've got something to go off at least, because we just saw Michigan Esports play a couple of these maps in the last series, namely the El Asilo Search and Destroy, and of course the Fortress Hardpoint, even if it's positioned a little bit differently. Good omens, we'll say that much if you're a Michigan Esports fan, because they won both.
Yeah, especially with that Hotel Search and Destroy all the way to the map 5 for SIUE. You just got to kind of get there, I would say. It's really tough. I mean, the only recency that I have for SIUE that I've watched personally was at a LAN about a month and a half or so ago in Charlotte. And they were absolutely having just running at everybody. But, I mean, Michigan is going to be that team that's going to be able to keep pace with them. I think Hotel's a good map for both these 2 teams to be able to feel each other out on the Hotel Hardpoint itself. Again, things are just about even between these 2 teams. Michigan's guns are hot, or here SIUE's are not necessarily cold. So, going to be interesting to see how they start to feel each other out when it comes down to the Hotel Hardpoint. Again, a map mode combination that is really split apart from who can really take advantage of these rotations earlier on. You can see how easy it is to be able to generate full 40s when it comes down to these Bunny Hills.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure. And again, a reminder, if you guys didn't just pay attention, which you should have been. If you weren't, Not good. 6-5, the records for both of these two teams in hard points, so kind of wishy-washy. We don't really know kind of what we were to expect here with this one. We'll see, though, from Michigan Esports, we already saw a little bit of hard point in that last best of 5, and from what we saw, it was a resurgence, if you will, in the first hard point, where we saw kind of them starting relatively slow, but as we got into like the 4th or the 5th hard point, they really started to kick into the 6th and the 7th gear, and then the second one is where Michigan really started to play out of their minds. Ottawa didn't even look like they were really in it, to be frank. So if they can do that here, albeit this is a very different opponent, they might well be in with a good stance, and we kind of translate that into how the map works again. We always talk about these like power rotations, or I do. I'm really trying to make it a thing, guys.
Really trying, man.
I'm really trying. No one else will accept it, but I still will. P1 or P2 is a big one, and I think for Michigan, if they can start well, which, mind you, they didn't in the first hard point against Ottawa, get that right, well, they might well be good versus this SIUE roster.
We'll have to see, man. It all comes down to the sides. I didn't look at the sides. I just got the map, so I don't know. Hey, it could honestly, when it comes down to hotel, just be a giant control fest that happens from restaurant and double arches, and maybe the team that spawns on the bad side never really gets to sniff out some time. That team that is on the favorite side of the map will, in fact, be SIUE Esports. You can see John Deere. Don't worry about that slow-mo. And then Big Country is going to be Plasma, the suspects of SIUE Esports doing some devious activities with their namer tags.
Always making our jobs tougher, aren't they? The players, SIUE, flipping around with the names. So we'll see what goes on with those guys as you get towards this hard point. But it will, in fact, be Michigan starting off on the worst, in air quotes, side of the map. And they're handling it relatively well at the moment. Good trades at least going somewhat in their favor. But already fight going down for the scrap time here between D-Day and Merc, who's flipping around this connector wall and will actually win with the headshot versus D-Day there in that scenario. As we turn our attention towards the rotation here, Blame has a lot to do in the backline. Unfortunately, both he and his teammates will fall around him. Outlaw will be up to Lord Memory, effectively a 1 versus 2 until his teammates can join. He has a lot to do here around the backline, gets one done, and his teammates coming over for the rotation here, doing a pretty good job as well.
And yeah, they're keeping them isolated as well. That's what Michigan were just so good at in their series versus Ottawa, especially in the hard points. It's just never really holding off of the gas, just always trying to strike these key positions to help out that one player that stays alive all the way over towards the back. This time it's Assassin on the backside of the stairs. Will inevitably get 2-pieced up from Anchor's AR. So SIUE will stabilize for now. You still have some Wolverine players trying to push through the front, becoming unfortunately flat. What was a very slow start, I will say. I'm pretty sure both in between John Deere and Big Country, they were like at a combined like 0-7 to start things off. They bounced back in a big way, and Michigan are going to see this back 20 seconds, trying to set themselves up for P3.
A big rotation coming out here for the Cougars, or at least for Michigan. Cougars are going to want to break here in a pinch some movement. Got John Deere on one side, was so known as Slow-Mo. And you did have D-Day on the other, but now there's just going to be Slow-Mo in the backline. Might be able to influence the spawns just a little bit. It will influence them enough for Plasmid to spawn alongside, but Plasmid falls. And now Slow-Mo's positioning becomes much more important. In for a penny, in for a pound. Now looking for more. We'll be first, but no more to be found just yet. The cavalry has arrived. Many shots going through the wall at the moment for Slow-Mo. Not many of them actually landing. He goes a little bit premature. Anchor down. D-Day down as well. And now it's all up to Plasmid, who has a little peek in. Goes down to 36 HP. And, well, that's kind of tough because it's really not the best position to be in.
It just took about 20 seconds for the Cougars to get themselves in a position to even try to work that pinch that... I mean, at a certain moment in time, I can't really blame Slow-Mo for getting antsy to want to try to poke through to at least find a chow, but the wallbang shots and getting information didn't have any utility, I don't think, to throw through an open door if he could make one ajar. That's just about a full 60. Flawless on P3 for Michigan. They'll build themselves a lead. They have players already rotating in from behind as well. Merc's already back there. They're finding kills on the front. Blame also reads one over by the info desk. The rotation isn't fully secured over by P4 because Michigan still had possession of the old hill. Will actually be SIUE Esports that get the close response.
To be fair, this is one where you can actually fight it from the front if you're Michigan. So the Wolverines not in a terrible position here, but you actually got to get control of the kill bar where you can start having that conversation about fighting it from the front. And D-Day is still hanging on. He's already picked up one, looking for the double, but Merc will deny. Trophy system now down, and he himself is down to 13 HP. And yeah, that's tough. I mean, you can see the trophy system right in your line of sight, and you still choose to throw a nade and a stun right at it. That's kind of on you at that point, to be honest. But Michigan will continue to bang at the door here. Blame now wants to try and piece up, and he'll get the chance to do exactly that. A double for him against the Tractor and D-Day. finally taken down by Anchor there, as this was an absolute kerfuffle over the time. And it will basically be about, what, 10 points down for SIUE before we go into the next rotation?
Call me crazy, but does this not look similar as far as a hard point is concerned of what we saw from Michigan versus Ottawa just not even a few moments ago? Look at how much more kills they have over SIUE. This, again, is just within about 7 points or so. Michigan are finding what I like to call useless kills. Not necessarily always around the objective. SIUE are finding more or less the correct kills around the hard point to always try to fight over the initial 20, to fight over the scrap time. That's why they've kept themselves alive, and this is a great setup here inside of the restaurant hardpoint. They find the entries required, and they get the setup as well.
Yeah, the efficiency for Michigan Esports is kind of reminiscent of, if you're a Challengers fan out there, Wobs during early challenges. They're not being very efficient right now, I'll say that much, and things are not looking good for this Michigan roster. As with 20 seconds left, they're going to be relying on a rotation towards new. Fortunately enough, Merck has got a good read here inside kitchen, and should pick up at least one. A second will be dubious, though. D-Day going to be able to trade things out, and there is an opening here for the Cougars to translate this in towards a rotation, but D-Day still has a little bit more work to do before he can consider such a thing. 1v1 around the back line against Assassin, and Assassin will take that every day of the week. So now for the Wolverines here, a good shot at what is considered the money kill of this match.
Look at how spaced out their initial setup is. I mean, you have everybody watching their own angles, essentially playing by themselves, and who am I to judge? Because it works out, Brody. They find every single kill across every single surface of the map. Merc is players in front of him. At least goes 1 for 1. That'll keep SIUE rather honest before they can even sniff a break attempt here.
Yeah, the Cougars going to have to run a marathon, though, before they hit this hard point. They spawn out so far away. But every single kill is going their way that they want, as well as Slow-Mo and Plasmid, respectively, are going to be picking up those gunfights. And, well, just like that, Cougars now looking for back 25 seconds. I was talking about this potentially being a money kill for the Wolverines. It hasn't been, to be honest. That is such a huge break from the Cougars, especially after their control early on in this hard point. The last 8 seconds will be contested by Assassin. Don't know if the read is actually in, and it doesn't matter. It's good enough here for Ranker to take it down. So as we hit the second sec here, Andy, it will be the Cougars in dominant control of this map so far.
You can see that the slaying department for Michigan Esports has slowed up ever so slightly, and it is picked up exclusively for the Cougars of SIUE. I mean, Slow-Mo has been showing up in a big way. So is Plasmid, to be fair. But SIUE Esports, I mean, they're hitting so many of these different areas together. They're starting to shut down just some of these heavy slayers that's Blame. I mean, he's still 19 and 14, but look at the trades coming through again. As soon as P1 pops, SIUE Esports were mostly looking to flip the map. They'll be able to get that, but they're also finding trades along the way, making it so tough for Michigan to generate time.
Trades again. Yeah, looking in favor of the Cougars. This is just not good for Michigan. Talk about their slaying department slowing down over the last couple of hard points. That continues to be the case here. Last 15 seconds, still worth fighting over, though. Merc going to drop down for 1, looking for the double against Slow-Mo. Not going to get it just yet. Slow-Mo, rightfully so, is just going to back away and knows that positioning. You can see him holding it there on the minimap. And number 1, positioning towards the help desk is so frustrating to take a player out of as the Wolverines start to encroach. Lord Memory is going to be the first player to go, and once again we'll throw a nade right into a trophy system in front. That does damage to them and puts them down on 10 HP. Lord Memory, though, off the back of the regen, will get that 1v1 in favor. Now Merc through Spar as well, gives them a free discount token. And now for the Wolverines, they surge on through. Spawn's not quite yet secured, and that will continue to be a problem here as more kills come through for the Cougars. But still, at least there's a fight.
Yeah, it's actually a really big discipline moment coming through from D-Day. I mean, he was all the way over by the hole here at Chandelier, plays his life, knows that he has Big Country, aka Plasmid, all the way inside a Spa. And they can just work a pinch and just wait for his teammates to push all the way through Statue, all the way through the middle of the map, and overwhelm Michigan Esports, knowing that he was blocking the spawn along with his comrade back parking lot. So it's just these little things that SIUE Esports are doing so phenomenally when it comes down to generating the majority of time off of the active hill. They'll be over 200 points. Michigan Esports still at 152. They're going all in for this rotation inside a kitchen. They gotta hold it. Cannot afford to get broken up again.
Needs to be a big hold from the Wolverines. Can they get it done? Lane will not be dealing with more than one player here inside the freezer. That's good, but over towards the cut. DJ needs to be shut down in years before he can earn the cruise missile. Blaine then comes to help out off the back of a 2-piece from Lord Memory. The kills are good. First wave in. Now for the Wolverines. SIUE will be spawning up in the middle of the map. And every single kill at the moment is going Michigan's way. They're very happy with the way this has come out at all. Now players coming through the freezer side once again for the Cougars. They'll continue to knock at the door of this hard point, but what? There's been one kill for the Cougars in what, like 10 gunfights? Finally, another one comes through, but Lord Memory is piecing inside the kitchen. He has taken them on 5 in a row. This is yet again what they did this the last rotation. Now they've done it again on the second. Kitchen is their hard.
I was their hard point, even on that embassy hard point as well, if you remember, Brody. I mean, they are just nasty when it comes down to having SMG's close quarter affairs. Lord Memory's going to be able to exit that hard point on a 5 spree. This hard point game, map number 1, is dead even, 207 to 206. Not comfortable enough to touch the time. Merc is nearby, playing that display case head glitch. Lord Memory pops dead silence, he gets overwhelmed. So no streaks were earned. SIUE Esports, they do not have control of this hard point, though.
Yeah, again, it's one of those situations for the Wolverines where they're going to continue to fight up from front just like they did last time around. Of course, last time, you guys made them fight for it. This time, though, they're just funneling in towards these players and dying in every single situation. Pladmid will line them up, though. Unfortunate there for Lord Mary and Blame. You can't really challenge like that and just go straight into the line of sight of one player, the L trigger of one player. That is exactly what happened. And now you're in a situation here with a valuable 15 seconds worth of fight over. Blame wins the 1v1 over slow attack against D-Day. Now rotation in hand here for the Cougars as we hit a very, very even game.
I'm getting PTSD for Michigan Esports, how the first set of hard points went when we got over towards the restaurant hill. The difference, though, Michigan Esports sent a player early on the flank. It's Assassin. He's inside a kitchen. He's looking to make a pinch effect with Merc, who's over inside of Jules, but Merc gets a little bit too antsy too quickly. Assassin needs to make this play happen, and he has some help actually coming through Secret. Last alive is going to be slow-mo on the hard point itself. He needs to go big, and Blame will trade him down.
Yeah, brilliantly done from the Wolverines. They're in now with 15 seconds to work with. All they require, but there's players on the other side as well, just like Assassin. They've got their own. SIUE with Anchor from the backline, but it's Merc inside for the double. Is it enough? Maybe to keep themselves at least in the conversation as they're about to hit 240. Big Country, aka Slow-Mo, trying to do some damage, but he can only do so much. Michigan, they're going to jump out the point here for a second, I presume, because they're going to be damaged up from that side. And now trying to make their way through connector, but Merc doubles. Duck Merc with 3 in the feed. Merc with 4! Damages every single player. And Michigan, off the back of a Merc 4K, will take it.
Just the last few players just getting sunned up upon entry. I mean, you saw just all of the stack of the snakes just around the restaurant seats. That is so tough just to be able to chow inside. And trades were starting to come through, but the ARs are just lighting you up upon entry through all of the nade smoke that was also just being blown and blossomed up there in the final hardpoint at the grand conclusion of what was a very, very good map number 1 between these two teams. Slaying being met on 2 different sides. Breaks coming through continuously. Adaptations from Michigan Esports there at the very end to make sure that if they're going to chalk that final hardpoint, they remembered what the first set looked like, Brody, and it was because they could never really get themselves in towards the back. A late flank comes through before the new hill actually activates, and Assassin makes sure that those spawns come through for his team to overwhelm through kitchen, to join Merc from the front, who inevitably spawns behind, and has himself an absolute field day there, fighting all 4 to close things out. What a steal Michigan have on that map number 1.
Tenacious little weasels, aren't they? These Wolverines, as they pick up. That's not an insult, by the way. They're literally weasels, the Wolverines, which I'm still learning a lot about animals today, it would seem. But Michigan Esports made it close, I think. You know, again, we talk about kind of their efficiency at the very beginning of that game. In the first set, they were outslaying SIUE by quite a margin. And yeah, it was SIUE that were out on top. The crucial rotations from Michigan, from the Wolverines, that they're able to hold onto that kitchen especially. I think they must have got like at least 110 seconds between both rotations off the back of that hard point. Kept them in the game.
Oh, totally. I mean, kitchen was Michigan's playground. They had to have gotten somewhere. They were definitely closer to generating 120 seconds off the 2 times we saw this kitchen hill than they were further away from it. I'll give you that. Won't give you an actual number or stat, but they generated a lot of time. Some would say too much time. If you're a fan of the Cougars of SIUE, who really felt like that they were always playing off the back foot just because of the slang that was being delivered from Michigan at really what felt like random parts of the game, right? I mean, yeah, through P3, that's whatever, but the way that they were just able to contest a lot of these crucial hard points from the front through the second set, P2, P4 you saw there as well, it's just so tough to deal with because you really feel like statistically you have the advantage from that side of the map that you should just be able to win the gunfights, but they are relentless. 31 and 24 for Blaine, 3,300 damage. gets outshined by Merc. Again, he was just piecing up everybody. 29 out of 34 eliminations not traded. 3,800 damage. And Lord Memory was also there as well. I mean, yeah, say what you will, 16 and 22. This guy with only 2,400 damage was putting in enough damage to other people where he found 14 assists in 2 minutes and 30 seconds worth of OBJ time. This Michigan Esports squad, squeaky clean, I would say, as far as their stats are concerned.
Yeah, beautiful. Again, it is. I mean, like we talked about it in the last series against Ottawa, right? Michigan, they kind of have these players that can go off at any given time. Blame is one of them. Merc is another. If you've got that incredible 4K to close out the game. And those guys, again, just turn up in this one. If it's not them, it's the other guys as well. Massive, massive clutch to close out map number 1. And a big map to take as well in what is a very much a 50-50 series all throughout. We already talked about kind of where the strengths lie for these guys. They were both kind of wishy-washy when it comes down to the hard points. I think it was 6 and 5 with the records going into that for both of these two teams. Now, though, I mean, SIUE, they take the loss there in map 1. Now, we go into a Search and Destroy where this is a very strong mode for both of the two.
Yeah, again, 6 and 2 for Search and Destroy for Michigan. 8 and 2 for SIUE Cougars when it comes down to the game mode overall of Search and Destroy. The last time, or a big time, I would say, that the Cougars played in LSU with Search and Destroy was actually against the Ottawa Braves. They won the 6-4. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because the last time we saw Michigan play this map mode combination was not even about an hour ago. Their map 2 versus Ottawa, where it went the distance into a round 11. Ottawa won 3 rounds in a row to force such an affair. Michigan, I mean, their game plan is so simplistic when it comes down to LSU with Search and Destroy, and that is just raw, patent aggression just coming through from those players. Like Blame is just always trying to force the issue, to get in your face, make you feel very uncomfortable early on. And so you need to be the team to punish them. If they find that first blood, we saw that that's where this team of Michigan do really struggle, is when they do get first blooded and they don't have numbers, they play off the back foot, they kind of get lost across the map and isolate themselves a little bit too much.
Yeah, I'll be intrigued to see kind of what the Cougars do to respond to the Michigan roster, because as you said, we saw what they were capable of earlier on in LSCLO Search and Destroy. Now, the good news here for the Cougars, of course, is that they've already seen how to respond. Now, mind you, they would have probably been a little bit preoccupied with their own series when that one went on, but they know that it's possible to at least fight back versus this Michigan roster, as we saw in that last Search and Destroy, where Michigan, they came out swinging with that, as you say, raw, unpatented aggression, and there was a response from the Ottawa roster where they managed to at least take them down as they started getting over-aggressive, started reading the plays more, and actually bringing out some aggression of their own. And to me, at least, that's how I expect this Cougars roster to respond here. If they see that aggression from Michigan, just do the same thing. Get hyper-aggressive. Send players down the field side where you're really unlikely to go, regularly speaking, and make this roster feel uncomfortable. That's how I would see these guys dealing with it. But again, I mean, both of these rosters are really successful. We take a look at the records as it currently stands, a 5-2 team versus a 5-3 team. And, of course, we talk about their Search and Destroy records on the whole. They know how to play Search and Destroy. So if we know anything about this one, Andy, it's going to be a banger.
It has to be a deliverance when it comes down to these top 2 teams, right? I mean, for SIUE, ranked number 11, highly regarded when it comes down to top 25, even from a community standpoint. Michigan Esports might be climbing a little bit higher after their very decisive win in I guess, like, Ice. That was exemplified versus Ottawa. Maybe not. I'm not too sure. I'm not on the community, but they are number 14. So, bunch of top dogs. You would figure that Search and Destroy needs to be a staple. It wins you tournaments. It wins you championships. It wins you matchups as a whole. Michigan for an offense first. Lord Memory had himself a good map 2 versus Ottawa not long ago.
And how do those start look here for these two rosters? Well, Michigan, after somebody's inside the site, that is a weird spot. That is a very weird spot for slow-mo to be in. And unfortunately for Michigan, well, Blame will take down their teammates. D-Day to take down Blame off the back of that as well. So Merc and Assassin immediately left up, stranded in a 2 versus 4 with a bomb right in the middle of the Cougars' defense.
Well, guess we are all ending up to live up to our names. You really can blame for that one. Styx's teammate was one shot. He gets chased down by D-Day. Assassin, 1v4. No dead silence. He's got time, but I mean, let's be realistic here for a second. You got to recover the bomb. You got to find 4 isolated 1v1s, and by the time you even get to the first one, I can't even finish my thought. Thank you, SIUE Esports. Will win that first round. And it's all, again, off that team nade. It sucks. We've been there before where you nade your teammate, and it also ends up in your face when you try to go for a chow. Then D-Day just cleans up 2 within that same split second of the Semtex going off. You lose your numbers like that, you really essentially have no answer in a round 1 with no utility, No field upgrades, just absolutely nothing as D-Day feasts and finds 3.
Yeah, it's round 1. I mean, you kind of talk about it right there at the end. It's round 1, right? I mean, like, you don't have your utility, you don't have your trophy systems, you don't have your dead silence, so, you know, it really can go either way at the beginning there, but this is where that utility starts to come into play. You can already see it. D-Day has dead silence ready to go, and he will utilize it right off the rip. Elsewhere, Blame has already sniped down the middle of the map, and he might well get another one as well, but he will be sent scarpering away from Courtyard. Goes for a retower with a pistol. It's a bold strategy, Cotton. It turns out it didn't work out for him. And now in a 2 versus 3, finds themselves Lord, Memory, and Assassin.
Almost going to recover the bomb. This play becomes live, mostly around the A bomb site. There's just not a whole lot of coverage and information that can come through top kitchen. Assassin is up here. He's going to see the door closed. So that's all the information Assassin really does need. That the confirmation over towards the A bomb is here. Lord Memory will join him down low.
I don't know if that nade actually landed in a good spot either. Dead silence activated, at least for Lord Memory. Knows that he needs it in this situation. We'll get the first now. Swinging out towards the second. And Slow-Mo's going to take them down. Now it is just Plasmid up top. Assassin gets the first few shots in. If he could have got away with that gunfight clean, this would have been a much more doable situation. But as Assassin continues to give away information, I thought for a second it might be all she wrote. But no, Assassin's going to jump on the bomb here. The call is made for Plasmid to jump down. Oh my god, Assassin pulls off a beautiful 1 versus 2.
I mean, he gets that free kill. I mean, the first player just jumps in to check the bomb because the timing was there, obviously, for Assassin to hop on it immediately after getting the initial damage. As he saw the second player leave back Billiards. He knew the regen had to at least come through from Plasmid. You can see here at the end, expecting the challenge, getting the audio cue, I'm sure of it. With so much time left on the detonator there for the bomb. Just plays it wonderfully, baits it out, saying, I'm going to stick this, you're going to come chow me. I have enough time to where you have to check it at least twice. Calls the bluff of SIUE Esports, who get themselves numbers earlier on as they just relentlessly push over towards A after losing first blood themselves. Michigan Esports, luckily enough, have a clutch player of Assassin.
Michigan Esports very lucky that they got that 1 versus 2. Couldn't pull off the 1 versus 4 in round number 1, but did it with the 1 versus 2 here in round number 2. Now in round number 3. Things not going well again early on for the Wolverines, as they've already lost Merc in this one. Lord Memory might well be soon to follow. Down to 35 HP, though. Has the coverage from Blame, and well, just like that, it's Plasmid coming through for a double. And now Assassin, how many rounds is he going to be left up in a 1 versus X situation? This one, again, just a bridge too far.
I mean, he is the main AR, right? It's typically going to be the last player that's left alive in most situations. The one pushed all the way in towards the back. More often than not, is Assassin for this team. Can't blame him. It would be really hard to keep pace with how fast both Lord and Blame just run at the opposition. But regardless of that, SIUE Esports, much like their first defense there, Brody, just don't really offer up anything too crazy, nothing too special. Just play these standardized position, get info off their stuns, just win the gunfights as Michigan Esports just run into their line of fire. By 9-2 between both Plasmid and D-Day. Offensive round here for SIUE, just a lot of utility being thrown. Building control is here, surely. D-Day trying to find that pick across the field side.
Things are definitely slow here in this round. Actually, you see kind of that, as you said earlier on, right? The aggression coming from one of these two squads. Michigan have definitely slowed things up in an attempt to not give anything away for free. Maybe D-Day can be the difference maker, and he will. Snipes down Assassin. At least Assassin won't be in a 1 versus X situation this round.
Oh, and Merc was going to be that player that wanted to try to answer off of losing first blood. He was top tower, and Plasmid was watching it the entire time. So now Michigan Esports, their defense, it's all inside the A bomb site. Lord Memory gets scouted out. He needs to take the chow. His assistance takes it for him. Big answer so far.
Ooh, hang on a second here. Blame might well be the savior for the Wolverines. Taken down there is Blame by Slow-Mo, but at least Lord Memory trade things out. It's 25 seconds now. All Wolverine needs to do is stop this bomb from going down. Or Lord Memory, excuse me. What a Wolverine. God, made Hugh Jackman envious for a second there. D-Day, again, time is not really his ally in this situation. He's going to have to trudge this bomb straight up towards B. And oh my god, might well have just found the timing. Down weak. He's on the hunt for Lord Memory. Lord Memory is on the runaway. Does he get him in the corner? No, just there to the left. And I tell you what, that felt very reminiscent of a Scream movie.
Just run. Just gotta keep running. Didn't have the time. Found the damage. Didn't commit towards the gunfight. Did want to give it to him. That's the right call. That is some good veteranship being showcased there at the very end. To be able to quite literally steal a round away. And again, SIUE Esports, I mean, the ball was in their court. They could have very much so executed towards that round, but the trades just were not there. Blame finds two. Sets up his teammate wonderfully of Lord Memory to be able to stay alive at the very end and play some very interesting timing. Into round 5 we go.
And the Search and Destroy has been a real ride so far in the first few rounds, and it doesn't change up in this one as you see Slow-Mo get hyper-aggressive and already taken out of the equation for it. I swear there has been a trade. D-Day going to take down Merc. So for the middle of the map, where Wolverines felt like they had an advantage, or not.
Merc's still got a sniper up top. Plasman's going to rip Dead Silence and maybe try to cover a little bit more space up top, but that's going to run out. Now it just comes down to the timing. Anchor, premature shots. No. He's going to get gunned by Lord Memory, but are you going to expect that Plasman's in this top position? He can't see the bomb being planted here. It's being planted on the backside.
Oh, I thought for a second D-Day was about to wall-star these guys with the sniper rifle. Going to do it with the classic old tack, though. To be able to get the regen through before he gets challenged once again. His presence around Kegs is so daunting. For the Wolverines, they know he's here. They know he's here. Finally will be dealt with. Nicely done there with the bait. Assassin for the double! Oh, slashes them up. Wolverines now 2 rounds in a row.
And it's in that final moment as well. I mean, that's just wonderfully scouted out for Assassin. You had to clear Plasman, who was all the way up top. Remember, he committed towards that Dead Silence push over by the A control zone. Wrap up towards top money and just make the pressure inside of A feel that much more trapped. They were running out of oxygen. They were running out of time for Michigan in that offensive round. So Assassin had to make the play up top to at least get Plasman out. And he walks away with both. Again, last player D-Day over by Kegs can only do so much. He just gets ripped asunder across the bomb head glitch itself. 2 rounds in a row for Michigan Esports.
D-Day's sniper rifle has been integral for the Cougars so far in this one. Now wants to be even more so. To get the information at least as to where Assassin had disappeared to. But information means nothing when the players are dying around you, and D-Day and Plasmid here find themselves in a 2 versus 4. At least they've got the bomb. And to be fair, they've got a relatively clear path over towards B. Assassin is really the only wall that they have to deal with. And, well, I think Plasmid scares them away.
They're so worried about their top money window. Especially in this 2v3 situation. I mean, it's the right scare to have. The only information you have is going to be Assassin on screen now. Throwing out some shots, ripped up, and gets pushed out by Plasmid. That's a big kill to find for themselves. 2v2. Yeah,
they know how integral taking them out of position there. And Plasmid, buddy, you can do better than that. Just run straight out in the open to try and double chow. Merc will punish. Now D-Day left up in a 1 versus 1. Lord Memory on the other side. Does he remember how to win these 1v1s? Ah, yes, he does. D-Day tries to go and pick up a Vasnev. I think that was off the ground because, of course, he did have the sniper rifle, but no success there to be had as Lord Memory takes the 1v1.
3 rounds in a row now. 2 or is it 3? I don't know. I've lost track. All I can tell you is that University of Michigan roster just becomes so deadly once they do get some of that map control again. They just are so adept at just making sure that the Cougars cannot get any information in that 2v3 situation. You can just see how lacking SIUE were. Just even off of noting one player, you're always so worried about the flank. Michigan just do not commit too far forward. They don't overextend. They all maintain their side of the building. It's worked out quite wonderfully for them for now a 2-round lead.
They've got to get the wheels turning right about now. Something, momentum in their favor. And they've been so reliant on D-Day's first bloods. Get aggressive this round with the Vasnev. Again, just trying to do something here, trying to catch the Wolverines off guard. At the moment, they are finding themselves facing a wall. There's no movement is to be made just yet. They haven't found any blood.
Quite a different look for Michigan. I mean, Blame sniping down low, trying to work a pick so that they can fly inside of the A-bomb. But it's Slow-Mo that makes the first move. He's going to be able to play that angle, takes down Lord Memory. That's bomb dropped. Now Michigan need to go on a recovery mission, but they're going to expect that D-Day again, who made this play up top. Normally sniping, he's got a Vasnev in office.
Yep, here we go. D-Day from behind, and he explodes for 2. Big play from D-Day to really put this round to rest. Merc for a 1 versus 4. Look, he got 4K at the end of the hard point. So a 1v4 isn't exactly out the realms of possibility. Probability, yes, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, different circumstances, I'm sure, with the game clock and nade smoke, head glitches. Good heavens. Wonderfully done by SIUE on defense, too. Realistically, I mean, for Michigan, that's probably one of the slowest offenses we've ever seen because they were really relying on Blame to be able to find a pick mid checkers. Just nobody was shouting him. And that bought D-Day enough time through his dead silence push to get up inside top office, work some information off his teammate. Audio cues, whatever may have you, then erupt. He has another dead silence here in this round. Offensive round would be a big one for SIUE to tie things up.
Stopped what the Wolverines are putting down. This round, though, not going as well. D-Day immediately tries to make their way out around that outer wall and will be punished for it. Sitting inside the site, ready to pounce his Lord Memory as well. Not a lot to work with here. Do the Cougars have? Some player around the back line would be nice, but I don't think they can get anybody through, so they're just going to try and make it through the middle of the map. Lord Memory is stunned up, but just like that, just as he is, Blame will take them out from checkers, and now it's down to Plasmid for a 1v4.
A whole lot of time to do it. 40 seconds to find isolated 1v1. He's got an AR. Does have that silence. Easy to recover that bomb. I think that's where this becomes such a treacherous laundry list. You don't know what's up top. He's going to get timing. Nobody rechecks this, actually. I think that was Blame that was up top that just walks over towards top kitchen window. See him pop that silence. Just some warning shots coming through saying, hey, here I am, chow me. Not a whole lot of time, some damage to speak of, but Lord Memory will get the last bullet. And this pace differential that Michigan were able to look at for SIUE, who wanted to get further aggressive, they are just doing a great job. They find that first blood. One player of Blame just finds himself in a position to expect where the retake might be coming through the middle lane of the building. He reads it just so correctly, finds himself too. They just slowly work that pincher as you had one player up towards top tower, two in and around the building. See SIUE trying to cross inside of the A-bomb site, and Michigan just ripping them to shreds.
And I love watching these guys play Search and Destroy. It's just like the reliance on one another. They're like family. Family Vin Diesel would be jealous of. Wolverines now, just one more. Take a 2-0 series advantage. I was going to say things not going so well in this round as it was Slow-Mo that drew first blood. But good trade coming through from Merc. Blame now down in this round. And Michigan still have bomb at least, so they don't need to go on that wild retrieval mission.
Which utility do you have? I mean, you can see Lord Memory still has both his throwables, dead silence. Do you have the ability to clear a lot here? They're waiting to pop that silence together and maybe start clearing things. Your biggest adversary. See the bomb wants to commit over towards A. It's going to be D-Day inside the site. His assistants, they're really not a part of this play. But that silence being popped by Merc, he's clearing a lot of space down low. And gauging off of this, that Plasmid Big Country, he's up top.
Yeah, I mean, even if he doesn't clear space, he just is in behind, right? Just an annoyance that I don't think they're going to expect whatsoever. And Plasmid does go down. Anchor and D-Day left up, completely stranded here in the situation. This is a perfect reposition from the Wolverines. D-Day now left up in a 1 versus 3. He has to make so much noise. Dead Silence has to be immediately activated because he doesn't know that somebody's not up top. And just like that, the Wolverines take a second map here versus the SIUE roster. Oh boy, they're looking good.
They are looking very good, Brody. Again, it's that decisive action that we were talking about versus Ottawa. I mean, with a little sprinkle less, I would say, than just running at Ottawa. That's what they really did in their rounds that they won early on in that Search and Destroy. We only got to see some explanation of that slow roll defense. They only had to do that maybe like once or twice versus Ottawa. It works out wonderfully versus SIUE. We're trying to get further aggressive throughout the entirety of the map. You saw both D-Day trying his best, who dropped 10 kills to his favor. It's just the other SMGs across the map just were not picking up a lot of the pressure that was being locked down by the ARs, by the sniper rifle of D-Day. So he had to pull out the submachine gun. Now things are out across the front line. Michigan read it. They expect it. Their crossfires were just so good to maintain numbers control through the majority of these rounds.
Yeah, for me, it's like two things, right? It's as you say, like the adaptability to know what SIUE are doing. You know, we talk about kind of them adapting to the sniper rifle to a player like D-Day over and over again with just aggression. And then I think the second thing is that adaptability that you love. I think we saw it a little bit versus Ottawa. I mean, yeah, they had to go to round 11 for that one, but still, very early on, saw kind of some level at least of adaptability. And then I think later on in this one, again, I think that round 11 was a perfect example of it. What do? A man down, no map control whatsoever. Well, they just try and like weasel their way through the middle of the map and really work around the backline where SIUE are just not covering their bases. Really good job by Michigan in all of the rounds they managed to win. Here is that massive play towards the end where D-Day's left up in a really impossible 1 versus 3 situation. So this Michigan squad, man, I mean, what? I've only got to see him play 6 maps so far. I am thoroughly impressed with this team.
Yeah, I mean, their cohesion is just about everything as well. I mean, you can see that you have players that are popping off, obviously, individually. Lord Memory is insane, 8 and 3. Majority of that actually coming through with the submachine gun. You have standout players on the opposite side. I mean, Plasma, 9 and 6. D-Day, 10 and 5. But where it stands out, especially for this Michigan Esports, is that teamwork, that cohesion. That's what makes them so deadly on Search and Destroy. We noted that versus Ottawa. And it even gets heightened here versus this team of SIUE Esports. Again, for the Cougars, they come into this 8-2, now 8-3. We thought that it was going to be a really big fight, but Michigan Esports play to their opponent's strengths either, or we are just not seeing their true skill ceiling, Brody, because their teamwork, the ability to be able to hit so much of the map at the same time and just really rely on all of their crossfires in between is just so stellar to be able to see here at the collegiate level.
Man, Michigan, they look hot at the moment. 2-0, but it's worth saying they were 2-0 up versus the Ottawa roster, and they had to go to a map number 4 to finish that series because that control, they didn't look in control whatsoever. But the interesting thing is, again, we talk about the records of these two teams as it currently stands. Control hasn't actually been kind to either of these rosters, and that does certainly throw things up a little bit as we get into that map number 3. You know what it is like, though, guys. We're going to make you wait a little bit here for this map number 3, of course. We've got a control coming up. Before we get there, going to go to a very brief break. On the other side, we have a control between Michigan Esports and SIUE Esports. Might well be the final one. Welcome back, guys, to the Midwest Mayhem here in the College Code 2023 season. Again, this is the penultimate season of League Play. We're now 2 maps deep into the series between Michigan Esports and SIUE Esports, who, I mean, what, Michigan Esports, they've had a lot of success today. They beat the Ottawa Braves early on 3-1. Now they're 2-0 up versus the SIUE Esports roster. They do have a control up next, though, and this is where they stumbled in that prior series.
I mean, Michigan just haven't really been good versus the top teams in control. Though, that said, now they're at the Cougars. Again, as far as control records are concerned, both teams are sitting at 2 and 5. To say that they've been great would not be putting it correctly at all. I mean, that is just not a good record when it comes down to control. A very integral game mode whenever you find yourself even Stevens up. So I guess if you are Michigan, you find yourself in the same position you did versus Ottawa. If you lose the control, then you go into a hard point. A game mode combination that we saw didn't look pretty good on as well, because it would be a Fortress hardpoint. But the chance to get it done here on Hotel Control, and the only reason why I am leaning towards Michigan versus SIUE versus each other in this map number 3 is just for the overall slaying. I mean, these guys on Michigan have just been relentless when it comes down to their slaying across in a respawn game mode that is Hotel Control. Could be a better map mode combination for them to take advantage of versus the Cougars.
Yeah, the way that Michigan have been playing, right? I mean, like, it's worth saying that, like, as you just saw, the series so far has been relatively close. I mean, the Search and Destroy, obviously, out the 2 was the bigger difference of victory for Michigan. But the map number 1 in particular was extremely close, and SIUE were actually keeping up with the vast majority of the slaying power that Michigan were bringing to the table. So I don't think it's, like, so much of a difference in the slaying power. It's just, like, when, again, we've seen a lot of Michigan so far, so I think we can validly say this. When Michigan do go off, it's down to just sheer slaying power. You know, those usual suspects that we love to talk about. Blame and Merck in particular have just had insatiable moments in these first couple of series today, that it kind of worries me a little bit for SIUE, that if they're not able to shut those guys down here in control, that they might be in a little bit of trouble. Again, though, the big thing is that we've already seen Michigan, they somewhat struggled in control in that last series versus Ottawa. They felt a little bit out of depth, and maybe Hotel will go the same. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of positives here for SIUE. Right now, they're 2-0 down. They need to bounce back.
Yeah, they really do. Need to bounce back in a big way. I mean, Slomo had a stinker of a map number 2. Felt like that the slaying kind of fell off. Crosses how aggressive this Michigan Esports roster likes to play. Was not answered ever since what really about a set and a half of hard points there on the Hotel hard point. But nonetheless, we're back for our second stay here. Greenberg Hotel Control will be Michigan on offense first. Looking to hit over towards the safe side. First, they're going to get sunned up. Nade, that's going to keep them rather staggered to hit the zone.
Yeah, Michigan start isn't as nice as they would like, but there are trades in favor, and of course those close spawns over towards Kitchen haven't exactly been blocked yet, so the Wolverines in a great stead to continue to hit this time and time again. SIUE, I thought maybe they'd just try and degrade kills to create the life deficit here just over and over again, but the more and more they hit this, the more and more this tick progression goes up, the more lives they give away for potential transition. Flame runs at Big Country there with a knife, otherwise known as Plasmid, regrets it very quickly.
SIUE have only found 4 total kills so far. They've given up, at least towards the A zone. Got to chalk it up at certain moments of time because you want to try to maintain a presence across the middle of the map. Atrium as well as D-Day up top inside a bedroom. This is the way that you shave away that clock. Just under 2 minutes to play, and lives are still evened up. SIUE Esports have really good map positioning.
Here we go, through bedroom. Got to take this one of 2 ways, through the bedroom and through the flank. It's going to be the former here for the Wolverines. Already got modicum of control around bedroom. Just one player down low to deal with in the form of Slow-Mo. And at the back line again. Plasmid goes down, as does Zanku. You've still got to deal with Slow-Mo. Q is now about to activate for 1 for the double for Slow-Mo. Not in Slow-Mo anymore. As SIUE Esports clear for the most part. They haven't done their job just yet. There's still players hanging around that bedroom area. And one inside statue as well. So far from dealt with all the threats. And things will now start to look shaky here as another frag comes through from Lord Memory. Again, it isn't solid. It is not a solid kit by any means. SIUE still looking to push here. John Deere through the help desk. Now more on the way. 1 tick of aggression made. Second tick potentially about to come through here as SIUE trying to make their way through the bar area. But the trade's absolutely in favor of the Wolverines, and that should be it.
Yep, they're spawning so far out. SIUE Esports are spawning over inside of Jules. They got to run, but they're not going to get here in time. The stack, too good, coming through for Michigan, and that's why we always end up talking about it, Brody, here on Hotel Control and Control in general. It takes that one good hit, a good stray of trades to come through. Michigan get full coverage over by the B zone. They get players over by D2. That forces everybody for SIUE to spawn over inside of Jules. Effectively had no answer as all of Michigan then spawned parallel inside of luggage to be able to stack that B zone. Make SIUE spawn too far to be able to contest that. Just way too easy, I would say, for Michigan to be able to play off the respawns, fade out where SIUE were located at, get themselves back those power positions, and show as much coverage over by the B zone that they did. So now, if you're the Cougars, you got to answer back with an offense of your own.
Good start here for the Wolverines as well on the defense. Things not looking so great for the Cougars. They're losing pretty much every single gunfight. It's a 3-for-1 trade in the end of that ensemble. Now they've got to fight through the middle of the map here, the Cougars, and through A side as well. Assassin's the problem, the blockage over towards this point for the moment. And, well, actually, Assassin's going to get a nade. I thought for a second there, Assassin's finally going to fall. He must be so weak at the moment, but somehow, tenacious as ever, will survive. Lord Memory is snapping on every single body in the point, including his teammate there in that situation. Probably not the best way to play a defensive zone A. And it's pretty much everybody from Michigan Esports will fall down. I can't imagine there's any more solid hits at this from the defense.
You don't want to hit this, right? You're playing for exits. You can see Assassin inside of Jules just maintaining that at least the flank comes through. But you chalk that. You're even as far as lives are concerned. You got Merc all the way on the backside of the valet staircase just outside of the garage. And Blame is up top laying prone. D-Day not expecting that. You know, you got to get Blame out from that position. He can be really annoying from that position itself. Elsewhere, SIUE Esports are trying to assault Lord Memory, who's over by the check-in desk with the Semtex and the Vaznev in hand. Will maintain that positioning for his team.
And we compare the 2 rounds at the moment. Cougars not having as much success clearing bedroom just yet. There's still one player over towards patio side to deal with. It could well be a problem if Cougars don't clear them. They're going to be a problem sooner rather than later as they come through. It's a good check coming through from D-Day, but Merc is just a little bit better. Takes both players down. Yet still, Cougars have presence over here. Anchor gets that trophy system down just a little bit late, gets tagged up with an aid down at 40 HP or so, and the reaction from the Wolverines is good. And Merc is still in this position, by the way, just being a complete annoyance over by patio side. This is going to waste so much time off the clock.
I mean, D-Day's trying to find him full flanks around and finally gets Merc out from that positioning again. Has been that unsung hero when it comes to the respawns for the Wolverines. Double positive. He's hitting routes. He's putting himself in these annoying positions to get players off the respawn. So much game clock has been shaved away. Michigan now have a 5-life lead. Blame's still up top. How does D-Day not win that one? Blame finds himself up on 3 in a row. Question marks for SIUE continue on, as they still have yet to be able to find a full-on answer on how to get onto this B zone cleanly.
Mate, Blame is 13-6 at the moment. He's got his sunflower oil on the pan. He is frying. Everybody in SIUE Esports just getting through the churner with him. 20 seconds left for them to do something, for them to pull the rabbit out of their hat. One player on the flank now through Archers is going to be D-Day, and Anchor from the other side as well. Big kill there to make if you're a slow-mo, but Merc and Assassin going to double up. Is that enough to clear space? Just 9.4 seconds on the clock now. Well, you know it only really takes one big hit here on the offense, and this might be it. Slow-mo tagged up here. There's no trophy systems on the point. That might be their downfall. Kills coming through. Merc, unfortunately, going to team nade once again. That will leave the door open here as another tick comes through. Players from Michigan spawning all the way out. And now for Anchor and D-Day, all they got to do is just zone these guys away. Assassin in the backline, Blame and Merc not that far away in the help desk. You gotta go, and you gotta go now, and you simply cannot. What do we say, Andy? It only takes one hit.
It really does. I mean, in SIUE, they made the best out of a terrible situation there. Again, not having a trophy system, you can see how weak Slow-Mo was continuously throughout the majority of this, because the next AR to step up was about halfway charged to their field upgrade of that trophy system. And Plasmid, when he spawns in, he has his available, but he spawns all the way over inside a restaurant. See, what Michigan did do well there in that moment of time is recognizing that they can't go forward down because they're all going to spawn over by Jewel. So one, if not two players need to stay alive back spa to at least get those spawns somewhat closer for Michigan. But SIUE, off of that little spawn out that happened for Plasmid, big country, was able to hold that mid lane, cut down so many players in that was pushing outside a statue to be able to answer with an offensive round.
And good answer from the Cougars. Now, and they get the defense moving again. It's a good look over towards A, but the numbers are just way too much. They've only got one frag so far. A second will come through from Plasmid, who is on the hunt for more. Will at least zone Blame away for the moment here. He's doing a stellar job of keeping Blame out of the play. Unfortunately for him, though, the rest of his teammates aren't actually able to do anything over towards the point. It's Slow-Mo is the only player who actually has something to say, and he will only pick up one frag. So the slaying determinantly in favor of the Wolverines off the start here, but fortunately for the Cougars, they do not overinvest.
I mean, Cougars did get reverse Uno card, excuse me, as far as trying to retake that A zone. They wanted to be able to find some exits, maybe get it back in their favor. Now they trail 3 lives in total. Not too much to claw your way back from, as you were saying, Brody. They do have some stellar map positioning. D-Day is up top. A lot to do. He gets overwhelmed. And just being that one player that's up top means that Michigan have now found themselves an entrance, more or less, to try to get closer towards the speed zone, but they're relying on Blame to commit towards that route. He gets damaged up. Well, Slow-Mo's going to pick things up through that mid lane, find himself too. Just comes down to how many kills and how annoying Lord Memory can be before he gets traded out. Does fine too, so now an opportunity presents itself again.
Yeah, opportunity, but they're not quite certain just yet. They know there's presence from the Cougars in the middle of the map, and that will sooner rather than later translate into bedroom control as well. You can see that attempt coming through from Plasmid, or from Slow-Mo, excuse me, but he will be shut down. And even now, even though the kills are coming through, and even now that Lord Memory's getting a double, they still are not certain enough to get on towards the point. Finally, Lord Memory, who has done this before, he's on 5 in a row, clearing a ton of space for the Wolverines. 1 kill away from the cruise missile. He will get it. Number 6 is there. And now the pressure is on. A 2 versus 3 and around the point. Blame not that far away. It's basically 3 versus 3. And the support is so good for Michigan. This one is done. So I don't think Slow-Mo's getting anywhere near that point. SIUE pushed away, and once again, Michigan, I mean, they take a little while to do it, but I think as Lord Memory really starts to piece up, then they feel satisfied that they can get that point done.
Continue on with the rampage that has been this hotel control. All offense so far by way of tick progression. And yeah, you really got to tip your hat to Lord Memory if you are a Wolverine fan, right? Because, I mean, he stays alive for such a long time. That's why I highlighted, I mean, if Lord Memory, an SMG player of his caliber, of what he's shown case today, if he can stay alive over there and just be so annoying, he's not only just buying so much time for his teammates to respawn and come help things out, but he's buying more and more time that enemy players of SIUE Esports are in the death screen over by Jules. They can't try to contest that crucial part of the map. Also has a cruise missile to utilize in this round to speak of. And while SIUE Esports, they need to answer back with yet another offensive round of their own. They try to get aggressive. Michigan and their trades are just too much to bear.
Good start here for Michigan on the defense. Again, it feels a little bit reminiscent of what we saw in round number 2, where the defense of Michigan was somewhat more convincing than what we saw from SIUE, but they get the job done anyway. Skills are looking pretty good from them. Merc will have a little look in, and I think that will give them a door or a window in towards this one. They do have to be careful, though, how much you actually want to invest into this, and that right there is exactly why. Because now SIUE, off the back of those kills, can stack only 1 or 2 players on the point, and they can send more for the transition.
Yeah, I mean, D-Day's already over here. He's already past check-in. He needs to snake his life the best he can. The Semtex comes in. Merc will take down 1+ a teammate, but at least you dealt with D-Day in that position for the time being. Slow-Mo's looking to pick things up from where D-Day left off, but can't get further past the pillars inside of P2. So now SIUE Esports, they've been able to at least find a certain amount of contention from the front of lobby, but they don't necessarily have anybody in a immediate position to try to deal with these players that are trying to contest from lobby, if not from spa. So not total coverage of the B zone, not quite yet.
Beautiful stuff right now coming out from Slow-Mo as he's just keeping the push over towards B alive. Should get the first tick through, and there it is. And actually more kills coming through from Plasmid as well. So I know we're looking at John Deere and Big Country at the moment, but these guys are farming! Oh my god! Kills coming through from these guys. B looks sure. What on earth did we just witness? 4 in a row from Slow-Mo, 2 in a row from Plasmid. These guys are tearing them a new one. Couple more players, though, still alive on the point. They might actually still be able to defend this one, and they will. From the backboard comes Blame and Merc, keeping them alive.
I mean, again, it mostly just comes down to that trophy system not being down. It's like SIUE Esports in their previous offensive affairs. They got so close so many times to capturing that B zone, Brody, but the trophy system just was nowhere to be found. 1 tick is all you need. 3 life lead. Got a minute left to work this map. If you are the Cougars of SIUE Esports, players are trying to hit routes. You mostly got to be worried about Blame. He's in bottom luggage.
Yeah, I will say Michigan, their bedroom control is relatively shaky. They're relying a lot on what Blame is able to achieve from luggage. Surely SIUE know that he's there. Yes, they do. Slow-Mo to deal, but no, Assassin is so much better in that situation. Absolutely decimates a couple of players. Again, though, bedroom control no longer there for Michigan. They need to regenerate that, and they do. Merc goes forward in towards luggage off screen for a 1. And now, is just fully reliant on the kick coming through statue side. It's 3 players. Lord Memory for 1. Lord Memory for 2. Lord Memory for 3! And Michigan Esports once again. Goodness gracious, I've asked so many times and then pull the rabbit out of the hat. Well, there it is. A huge rabbit.
Life lead has now flipped. 20 seconds remaining. Anchor's feeling the pressure. He's got to push all the way up, and that pressure gets reverted. Merc pushes through on the opposite side. Assassin is still playing on the Godhead glitch, and D-Day tries You might be able to get bedroom control, but you have to some way get towards his zone.
This needs to be perfect. This needs to be perfect. Your series ends in 3. D-Day. He's on the point, but he gets taken out from behind. You haven't cleared bedroom, and just like that, Michigan show them how it's done here in control. They win this one 3-1.
I'll win it here on Hotel Control, and it's like I was saying, Brody, I like this control map so much more for Michigan if they can try to force either this or Fortress versus like teams like SIUE Cougars, like what we saw from Ottawa. They're going to be so much better off than LSELO because it enables their play style, and that got accentuated through and through these 4 rounds worth of play. I mean, Merc was just about everywhere that he needed to be, playing these head glitches to absolute highest level. It allows Blame to get inside of these very ratty corners that Hotel does have available to these very annoying SMGs of Blade's caliber. It just works so well for them, and you got to see that through their 2 offensive executes, and also once they got the pressure there on defense again to be able to close it out in a 3-1 fashion.
You know, I'm not so sure about that previous control anymore versus Ottawa, right? Was that just Ottawa playing really good control? Because I think it might have been, to be honest.
I think it's
Michigan.
just the map. I think LSELO just does not work out for them. It's just too much open land. They were getting cut down trying to get so much map, where on this one, they were just really exploiting all the different hallways, the fixtures, the head glitches that's offered on Hotel.
I mean, they certainly looked a lot better, regardless of what the reasoning. And there was just so many moments here in this control, and you'll see it in the highlight package, right? Where Michigan players are just piecing up, right? I mean, like, especially in the final 2 rounds coming out from them, like, Blame, Lord Memory. I'm not actually going to name the whole roster because all of them had their moments. It is just insane to see so many crazy plays from Michigan come out like this. And again, this is a Michigan roster who, by the way, were what, like 4-3 coming into today? I think that was their record coming into today, right, Andy? They've just won the last 2 series, and they've done it so convincingly against, I would argue, a pretty good roster in SIUE Esports. A roster that I believe was above them in the community top 25 as well. So to do it in this manner, I think Michigan, their stock has just shot up moving in towards the final week of play.
Those community voting members, Logan, looking at you, brother. You're going to have your work cut out for you to try to figure out where now they place as far as this, what is technically a top 25 upset. Here's the stats there from map number 3, ending in a 3-0 fashion for the Wolverines of Michigan. 22-18 for Lord Memory. How good was he with the Vaznev? Blame was there to pick things up as well. 26-18. The damage numbers are obviously not true, but I'm sure that for Merc, he was somewhere near about 3,500 damage. This guy was beaming everybody along with Assassin, Ford Memory, and Blame were just running at them relentlessly with subs.
Man, I love these guys. I love casting their gameplay. Michigan, they look so convincing. I mean, look, they won 3-1. The first 3 rounds are relatively close. That last one was the real difference maker where Michigan just stormed their way through the final, 30 to 45 seconds or so. SIUE just looked completely rattled, and, well, they most certainly were in the overall series. A massive clutch at the end of the Hotel Hardpoint gave them that map number 1 victory, but rest assured, maps number 2 and 3 were definitely secure victories for Michigan Esports. They took the LSCLO Search and Destroy 6-3 and the Hotel Control 3-1. 2-3-0 sweep. This SIUE roster that were, 5-2 coming into this one, maybe 6-2? God, that's a big win for them.
No, it's a massive win. And you would feel like, almost as it does stand, it is somewhat of an upset. Because, I mean, SIUE, again, coming in at 5-2, as far as even rankings are concerned, throw that out of the window. Because, I mean, as far as what we were looking at, as far as this Midwest region, Division 1 is concerned, this Michigan roster was not necessarily in the conversation to be a top 3 team out of this region. That is being held by the undefeated Northwoods, St. Clair, who's 7-1. We'll see them later. And Illini, who are also 5-2. The Illini, who, by the way, also beat this SIUE team. So I think that you're starting to see that argument being made is that Michigan, in the later half of the group stage so far here in the Midwest region, have heated up in a way to start making some arguments across that top 3.
Yeah, big wins from Michigan Esports as they take this one 3-0, and of course the prior series 3-1. Definitely having their stock raised at the end of today. The day isn't over just yet, though. Next up, we've got the Cougars taking on, well, you just spoiled it, Annie. Thanks, buddy. You spoiled it. St. Clair is up next. It's going to be, well, I would say a banger, but now that Cougars look a little bit unsettled, I'm not too sure how it's going to go. Before we get to those, just a quick shout out to our sponsors, as always, Fandom and America's Navy. For those of you guys who don't know, the Navy allows you to earn a college education at their expense. When enlisted, you can attend classes even while on the ship. The Navy also offers world-class technology training using cutting-edge equipment and technology to prepare enlisted men and women to maximize their potential. So shout out to our sponsors, America's Navy and Fandom, for all your wonderful support with CCL. And of course, shout out to you guys at home for all your wonderful support of the CCL. Make sure you support for our final match of the day, though. It's going to be the Cougars going head-to-head with St. Clair. We'll see who comes out on top after this break.